this cooperation among nations, yeah. See, every nation depends on other nations in some ways, right? The interdependence of the entire world and its people is called globalism. Yeah. Nations trade with one another to earn money and to obtain manufactured goods or the natural resources that they lack. Yeah. Nations with similar interests and political beliefs may pledge to support one another in case of war. Now, this next war you're planning, there's 7.5 billion people. Well, let's look at it. Okay. This is the United States. Yes. We had a war in Iraq and Afghanistan. Yes. And then where's the next world war going to happen? Who do we dislike today? There's China. Yeah, possible. Oh, there's Moscow. The Russia's right up in here. Yeah. Now let's look at the population. Exactly what is a war going to do to reduce the world's population? How many billions of individuals would you need to kill? Yes, to reduce the amount of growth that is going to be experienced in humanity over the next 70 years. Because a lot of these wars, yes, I mean, if we looked at the amount of casualties of ourselves or Afghanis or Iraqis, yes, it does not affect the growth of the population at all. Poop. Now, I'm kind of thinking that you might as well accept, yes, that the world is going to continue to have sex, yeah, and they're going to continue to have babies. Now, why don't you put that in your playbook? Okay. Now, there's several international organizations. Right, the United Nations is the largest such organization. Did you know my marriage certificate is from the United Nations? I was looking at that supposedly, right. I've been divorced for 6 years, but I never got a dissolution of marriage. No, I never got notice of court hearings. In fact, as I look at it, my sons were taken from me. Now, this idea of taking children without any due process of law, because my wife said I was crazy, yes. And you said, well, we do not have to actually give you notice of court hearings. Yeah. My sons are in the wrong grades. And then I put another little email. Yeah. You know, if I need to take the time, coach, I can prove that you're making $40,000 more a year than when my wife moved to Brennan. Yes. And I can prove that the superintendent has enriched herself because of the exploitation of my sons. Now, yesterday I mentioned the unions. Well, just so you know, it is exploitation of the Budnick boys to give custody to my wife without me or them having any rights enforced. Yes. Now, let's see here. September 6th, September 24th. Yes. January 4th. June 16th. Just going back a little bit, July 31st of 2015. Yeah. Petitioner didn't motion the court. June 1st of 2015, the petitioner didn't petition the court for a temporary protection order. In fact, the other protection order didn't expire for 93 days. Oh, February 13th of 2013, the mail was returned unclaimed. Yes. And on February 11th of 2013, you issued a dissolution of marriage, right? That for 6 years, 1 month, and 21 days, I've supposedly been divorced. Now, of the 2,500,000 emails, right, of all the documentation that I've sent you, what makes you think that the United Nations does know that we're divorced? Yes. Now, this is the world's largest organization. Pope. Now, let's call them United Nations. Not just the employees, right, but all the employees of the member states that are not actual employees of the United Nations, the employees of the member states that do the work that the United Nations says that they want to have done. Now, this idea, right, where my wife did or did not provide the original copy of the She took the marriage certificate with her when she abducted my sons. Mhm. Mine's a photocopy of the original that Heidi took with her because a week to 2 weeks before she decided to abduct them, yeah, where she made up that false police report that had committed domestic violence and child abuse, she got all of the family's important documentation before she abducted them. Did you ask to see the original? Judges, did you see the original copy of the United Nations marriage certificate? Does the United Nations know that you dissolved the marriage that was issued from the United Nations? Does the United Nations 2,240 days ago, you issued a dissolution of marriage to a woman that abducted my sons? Yes. You gave custody of my sons to that woman. Did you ever see the original? Because I and Heidi, yes, myself and Heidi, we had a talk when we were living at the Guam Airport Hotel. Yes. Heidi went through all the documentation that we had as a family when we moved to, right now, Guam. And she took the original copy of the marriage certificate. Yes. She had the passports of my sons that were issued when we lived on Guam. Yes. She made arrangements to purchase plane tickets. She had me arrested the morning that she left with them. Yes. And then she abducted all 5 sons. Do you not understand how you abduct children? You make up a fraudulent story about their father. I did 7 hours of parenting classes and my record was expunged. Now, why is it, yes, that the court doesn't understand how child abduction happens? This fraudulent dissolution of marriage that you issued on February 11th of 2013, yeah. Does the United Nations know that you dissolved the marriage certificate 6 years, 1 month, and 21 days ago? Did Heidi ever communicate with the United Nations? Is there any actual official documentation from the United Nations? You know, the United Nations is the largest such organization. Nearly all independent countries are UN members. For all the independent countries that spend, yes, the actual resources of their member countries, yes, how many individuals, right, do know that you said you could dissolve a United Nations marriage certificate without them being informed of the dissolution of marriage? Well, if they don't know, we are still married.